Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Adam Mathews with Mathews Counseling, and every single month we try to offer resources around different topics and different issues. And July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and so all month long we are talking about issues related to minority populations and mental health. And today we have one of our amazing therapists, Sharmaine Joyner, who is going to be talking with us, and she wrote an amazing piece around making space for emotional rest, particularly in BIPOC mental health. And Charmaine, first of all, welcome. Hi, it's so good to
Hi,
see you.
nice to see
Uh,
you too, Adam.
and the opening line that you write, I'm so interested in this because it's so powerful. You say, I am tired too, right? So tell me a little bit about this idea of being tired and particularly with BIPOC individuals and like how that led into you writing about this topic and writing about it now.
Yeah, so basically, as soon as I knew like this was the vlog that I'm going to be writing about, I got so excited because that phrase, I'm tired, is always really used a lot within the
Yeah.
community. And understanding that I'm tired goes beyond just that physical fatigue. It really
Yes.
speaks to like our emotion, our mental, our spiritual, like that exhaustion that we have that kind of navigates that way we're feeling. So I think that's kind of like where I got excited from and just what the community of BIPOC, the community, what they carry,
Yeah.
generationally, socially, emotionally burdens that are often seen that are really untreated. So I wanted to
Yeah.
dive right in. So yeah.
Yeah, tell me a little bit. Are you able to kind of, is there a way to name that emotional burden of just navigating society, right? I mean, that's what we're talking, right? It's just like the everyday life of navigating the oppression and the systemic racism and injustices that are present. That's what we're talking about, right? Is there other things that I'm missing there? Tell me about kind of, is there a way to name those burdens?
Yeah, so I definitely feel like what I wanted to kind of talk about within that blog is naming like you said, the oppression, also kind of highlighting some of that racial trauma, those
Yeah.
microaggressions that kind of are happening, and that chronic invalidation that we wear throughout mental
Mm,
health when it comes to experiencing that restlessness. Like we feel like we
yeah.
may need it. So I feel like that's where in the blog, I'm really inviting readers to understand like let's challenge some of that internalized belief. Let's create
Yeah.
some spaces for that softness, for some healing, and ways for us to be our true, authentic self.
Yeah, because that's it stands in the way of it, right? It stands in the way
Yeah.
of people being their true authentic self when they have to kind of navigate that burden and like it's not tiredness that I don't experience as a white
Mhm.
person, right? Like it's something that I don't fully understand, and so it is something we were talking about this with another one of these that we were doing is that it's like for people that don't experience it, it's something that's really that we don't see right away. And like if I'm talking with you, right, it's not something that I always am going to notice, but is so present in your experience and in others' experience in the community, right?
Yeah, I think sometimes, like I said, it's like that generational like trauma
Yeah.
sometimes it's like just passed down of thinking that I can keep pushing through, you're so strong, keep going,
Yes.
and not understanding that rest doesn't necessarily mean that you're lazy or you're weak. This definitely means that they can coexist together and you can keep
Yeah.
striving. You can take some breaks. You
Yes.
can take a nap, take
Yeah.
some time off, use those mental health days. And I think sometimes within the community for BIPOC, they just feel like because it's seen as lazy, I have to always be
Ah,
strong. I always
yeah.
have to have a high performance because they may feel like they're the underdog. And it's really
Yeah.
just kind of understanding too that we have to be able to have that emotional control over ourselves to be able to
Yeah.
show up for ourselves instead of
Yeah.
always showing up for others.
Well, that's if I'm understanding you correctly too, it sounds like that resilience to keep going, right? Because you have to keep going on one hand, right? You kind of
Yeah.
have to keep carrying that burden and that weight. To be able to do that, you really need this emotional rest, but there's maybe a stigma against rest, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me what you mean. How do you define emotional rest?
Emotional rest, for me is really just making sure that, again, like we're kind of like showing up for ourselves, but also making sure that we make it essential within our daily lives. Like you said, that resilience, making sure like it's celebrated to a point that you're not just surviving, but providing rest as that place of, recovery.
Yeah.
Like, let's just go ahead and make sure that we're creating that space and to feel and not just think I can keep going. So I feel like when it comes to rest, and getting that emotional recharge for ourselves, we'll be able to reconnect to ourselves. Sometimes we need to do
Yes.
that because we don't realize like what we're going through because we're on autopilot. I think that's kind of
Yes.
like I notice a lot of everyone, we're on autopilot. Adulting
Yeah.
is hard.
It
So,
is.
you
Yeah.
know, you just keep
Yeah.
going and keep going. And it's like, oh my God, I am
Yeah.
overwhelmed. Oh my God, I am stressed. And I think that's kind of where I wanted to come from because that's what rest is to me, like being able to body scan what's going on for ourselves and understand that
Yeah.
softness is strength. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that because you talk about that I too that rest is strength, right? Like it's and reframing that for ourselves is important, is that rest is strength. You also talk about it, you use this great quote from Teresa Hersey, which rest is not a reward, rest is resistance, right? Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that? Like it's strength, but it's also resistance. So how's that shown up when you talk to clients about it? What's the connection between rest and resistance?
I feel like for me, it's just kind of like a lot of the individuals and the clients that I have that are part of the BIPOC community. I just don't understand that they feel like it's like rest has to be earned. Like
Mm,
it's not necessarily seen as an essential as it is like food and water. It's always kind of seen as like a downer. And I feel like when I'm working with my clients, I kind of want to try to shift their mindset of understanding that you don't have to feel guilt or shame when
mm.
it comes to getting that rest and taking that time for yourself or even coming to
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes they don't even feel like they need it. They
Yeah.
feel shame to be here or they want to tell anyone. So I think that's where I'm kind of like, I'm celebrating this, like,
Yeah.
and I feel kind of honored because I am a part of the BIPOC community. So I feel like I'm representing for them to understand that I need rest too.
Yeah.
So I feel like with my clients, I try to let them understand like I've overworked, I've been stretched, but understanding the difference between stretched and stress.
Mm.
And kind of getting them to understand that, we can be stretched a little bit. I understand that, we do that here and there where, we're under some pressure. However, stress is when we're kind of like under too much pressure, you're overwhelmed. And now we have to
Mm.
kind of reframe what's going on for ourselves and understand that, it's time to take some rest. And it's not necessarily a reward for
Yeah.
overdoing ourselves, but it's an essential. I have to do it. Let's go ahead and schedule. I tell them, schedule, surprise yourself with a random mental health day once a month or every 2 months.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
Yeah.
do that for yourself.
Yeah, and you have to have that right to be able to continue forward, to begin like especially in the culture we live in currently where it's a lot of high stress. Like it's not we're not going to escape that anytime soon, right?
Yeah.
And so to be able to do that, rest becomes a vital part of doing that, right? If anybody that was listening, like what is one small but powerful way that you feel like they can begin to reclaim emotional rest. If you were going to say do it today, how could they begin to kind of reclaim some emotional rest?
I think for them to reclaim some emotional rest is for them to kind of carve out that space for some silence. I feel like a lot of
Hmm.
people don't sit in silence a lot of the time to be able to really body scan and hear ourselves and hear what our
Yes.
body is telling us. And I feel like when we take that time and create those spaces for ourselves to feel vulnerable, we get to understand our emotions and things of that
Hmm.
nature. I think that's one easy step that we can kind of do for ourselves to be able to take that time to understand rest by creating those silent moments. I feel like we're parents, we're working full
Hmm.
time, we're partners. We play so
Yes.
many roles to so many people that
That's right.
we forget about ourselves and we're like, oh, I do need some time for ourselves. And there's no silence. There's too many
Hmm.
things going at one time. The TV's on, we're scrolling, you know. Carve out that time for silence. If that means sitting on your porch, going for a walk, somewhere where you can have some peace and some silence to just hear.
Yeah.
hear what your body is saying. I would say that.
I love that. I think that's so important because it is something that none of us get, but it that recentering and that being learning how to be okay with silence, I think, and to allow that to kind of recenter you is so helpful. Charmaine, thank you so much for your time and for talking us through this. I think it's really helpful. You mentioned therapy as being so important and being not being seen as weakness, and so we just want to encourage that, talking through even just how to rest, how you can learn to reconnect with yourself, find that emotional rest, and even if deal with any of the pressure or the emotional weight that you are currently facing. We have a lot of therapists to choose from. We really believe in a good fit and having therapists that you can find some part of your identity in. And you can go to matthewscounseling.net/therapist and see all of our therapists, watch their intro videos, find which one is a good fit for you. If you can't find one, you can call 919-587-8018, and our wonderful care coordinator, Joe, will help you figure out what's the best fit for you. Charmaine, thanks again so much, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye
All
bye.
right, thank you. Bye.